Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. And boy, oh boy, oh boy. What an unbelievably ridiculous slate of subjects we have got today on the program on a Thursday where NFL Week 12 rolls back into action. Your boy is blown away that we got Myles Garrett going Jussie Smollett on us, or as Dave Chappelle would say, juicy small yay. I got so much to say about this story that I'm going to get to in a minute, but let me give you the roadmap of where we're headed. We got Jussie Garrett to talk about. We got the Colts Texans going on tonight. T.O. says Max Kellerman is blacker than Stephen A. Over Colin Kaepernick. And Yahoo Sports, Colin Kaepernick defender, Nike stooge, whatever his name is, decides that Nike's up $26 billion in market cap because of Colin Kaepernick. We got a lot to get to, but I want to start with Myles Garrett. All right. As a prelude, in the event last week you had your head in the ground and you didn't see it, Myles Garrett got into an altercation with Mason Rudolph, ripped Mason Rudolph's helmet off, and hit him in the head. And as a result, he was suspended for the remainder of the season and kind of an indefinite suspension going into the offseason. Now, I said that I thought Myles Garrett deserved to be suspended for around 4 to 6 games. I thought that made the most sense given what he had done. And I thought that was roughly appropriate. And immediately after the game, Myles Garrett kind of said a little bit of an apology. And then the next day, he issued a more full-throated apology, basically apologized for his actions. And I got to give Myles Garrett credit there for the way that he has behaved in general, because I thought he was owning up to a stupid decision. Myles Garrett is a pretty smart guy. He got a score on the Wonderlic that is higher than the average Super Bowl winning quarterback has scored on the Wonderlic. Like a pretty smart guy. Obviously very talented player. But this year, he punched Delaney Walker in week 1. He's had a couple of late hits. He hasn't played as if he's the same effervescent personality that he was at Texas A&M and early in his career in the NFL. And so as this thing blew up and turned into a bigger story, we had what's her name over at ESPN, Josina Anderson, immediately tweeted literally the second it happened that somebody must have said something racist to Myles Garrett. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of expected for Myles Garrett to play the race card immediately, because there's a history of late of whenever an athlete gets in trouble for something, they immediately say it's racism based. It's like the get out of jail free card is, oh, so-and-so was racist. But Myles Garrett didn't do it. He hand wrote a letter of apology to Mason Rudolph for his behavior. He had the Browns issue a statement of behavior. Now, he appealed his suspension, but until this ESPN report today, there had been no suggestion whatsoever that there had been any sort of racist statement made. There's also zero evidence of it actually occurring. And I would just ask you this in general. If someone said something racist to you on the football field, would you not immediately use it as justification for your behavior when you talk to the media right after the game? Okay? And let me say this. We got to stop with this idea that if somebody says something mean to you, it somehow justifies you losing your mind, all right? Even if something racist were said, it doesn't justify you trying to kill a man by hitting him in the head with a helmet, all right? It's just words. And we got to stop this ludicrous universe that we have created where if somebody says something mean to you, it takes away all responsibility for your further action. When you are an adult, you have to be smart enough to walk away from violent situations. I have said this for a long time. If you ever see me in a fight, it is going to be because my life is in danger or my family's life is in danger. Otherwise, I'm not fighting with somebody over what they say to me or what they call me. All right? That's because I'm a grown man. I don't want to go full Mike Gundy on you, but I'm a man. I am 40. All right? I got nothing to gain unless you're paying me to fight or unless my life or my family's life is in danger. I'm not going to fight you. And that should be the standard for every grown-ass man on the planet. All right? If you're 15 or 16 and you're young and dumb, okay, you can get into a fight. But if you are a grown-ass man, unless you are being paid to fight or you are defending yourself or your family, there is no reason under the sun why you should be in a fight, okay? But if that is one of the reasons why you lost your cool and tried to kill a man, wouldn't you say it? Wouldn't you say it immediately after the game ended? At a minimum, wouldn't you say it the next day? Or the day after? Or the day after? Why would you suddenly, in the appeal, decide that you're going to throw up a racism Hail Mary and hope that somebody is going to believe you? There is zero evidence to support that this happened unless you think that Maurkice Pouncey and the other Steelers players who defended Mason Rudolph as aggressively as they did are members of the KKK and also white supremacists who engage in racism all the time. This is why so many people don't believe racism allegations now, because racism in this country has become like the boy who cried wolf. All the time. Everything is racist. Oh, that's racist. Oh, that's racist. And racism allegations going on everywhere. And so many of them are proven now, time after time after time, if you track them down, to actually be made up in an effort either to create a victim like Jussie Smollett, so they're going to benefit off being a victim, or in an effort to try to limit punishment like happened evidently in this Myles Garrett situation. And that is why so many reasonable people of all different backgrounds now, when they hear this, they immediately roll their eyes and have absolutely no belief in them whatsoever. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. I'm not saying there aren't racist football players. I am saying it's awfully convenient that when you have gotten in incredible trouble, that you suddenly at the last moment throw up a racism Hail Mary and hope that it's going to save you from punishment for your actions. Now, really what you're doing is branding Mason Rudolph as a racist, because now it's impossible for him to prove in the eyes of some people that he didn't do this, because you can't prove a negative. If somebody accuses you of something, it's virtually impossible to prove that you didn't do it, because people can say, well, we didn't get the right audio, or he said it really soft, or maybe only Myles Garrett heard it, right? That is what often happens in these situations. You get branded and you have absolutely no ability to prove that you didn't do it. But Myles Garrett's attorney put out a statement. According to ESPN, in his appeal, Myles Garrett falsely asserted that Mason Rudolph uttered a racial slur toward him prior to swinging a helmet at Mason's uncovered head in a desperate attempt to mitigate his suspension. This is a lie. This false allegation was never asserted by Garrett in the aftermath of the game, never suggested prior to the hearing, and conspicuously absent in the apology published by the Browns and adopted by Garrett. The malicious use of this wild and unfounded allegation is an assault on Mason's integrity, which is far worse than the physical assault witnessed on Thursday. This is reckless and shameful. We will have no further comment. I'll be honest with you. A part of me would be interested in pushing criminal charges in the wake of Myles Garrett making this false, slanderous accusation. I'm going to be honest with you. If I were Mason Rudolph and I had done nothing wrong here, and suddenly Myles Garrett makes this accusation against me, I would be interested in pursuing criminal charges suddenly. I didn't think criminal charges should be filed in this case from the get-go. I said if I were Mason Rudolph or his advisors, I wouldn't support criminal charges in this case. I'll be honest with y'all. I would definitely support pursuing criminal charges if I were him right now and I had been falsely accused of something that I hadn't done. In all honesty, I would seriously contemplate that if I were Mason Rudolph right now. It's clearly an accusation that impacts him in an incredibly negative way. And again, it's a negative that he can't prove. Now, maybe there's audio out there, but you can always say, well, the audio didn't happen to catch it. Now, if he said it, there should be audio to support it too, but the NFL appeals officer did not buy Myles Garrett's racial Hail Mary. And as a result, he has decided that the suspension should stand as they were initially levied by the NFL. And you have to believe, at least you have to believe somewhat, that the NFL would have reviewed every possible bit of footage they have of this incident and also reviewed every possible audio that they have of this incident as well before they levied the suspensions to try and figure out exactly what happened. That's what I would expect if I were advising the NFL, if I were reviewing this from a penalty perspective. I would want every piece of audio, I would want every piece of video, and I would want it all pieced together so we could try to see exactly what happened. So we don't end up with Myles Garrett going full Jussie Smollett on us. Jussie Garrett, Miles Small-Yay, as he would be described by Dave Chappelle. This is ludicrous. Myles Garrett should be ashamed of himself for making up what appears to be a false allegation, all designed to try to protect himself. And again, if players had heard it, do you really think they would have been defending Mason Rudolph? If this had actually been said, do you think his black teammates are going to war with him? There's no way this would have actually happened. This is made up in an effort to try to protect themselves from a punishment. This is what Myles Garrett was doing. All of these situations, they happen all the time. We're going to make something up, and the reality is there's no basis to support it at all. And again, if you believe that racism is a major issue in this country today, then what you've got going on, you should be furious about it. Because every time somebody screams racism, it's like the boy who cried wolf when something actually happens. When the wolf shows up, when racism is actually there, you've screamed it so many times, I ain't turning and looking, right? My immediate assumption now, thanks to Michael Bennett, thanks to LeBron James and the racial slur on the gate, you can go through all these different lists, is that there's not actually any substance to this, and it's designed to create a victim, which somehow is going to mitigate the responsibility for an unacceptable behavior. Okay, so this should be, if you are truly bothered by racism, a major issue for you as well. All right, a couple of other things. Colts Texans. Let's go to actually on the field football. Colts Texans going on tonight. Massive game in the AFC South. Marlon Mack is out. You've got issues with how healthy T.Y. Hilton is going to be at wide receiver. The Texans have all sorts of issues in their secondary about how they are going to be able to perform in the secondary. I love the Texans here coming off of the beatdown that they took on the road against the Ravens. They lost 41-7. Deshaun Watson has shown us that he rarely strings together back-to-back really poor games. And so as a result, I'm going to talk about it on Lock It In a little over a half hour from now. And I'm going to tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am all in for sure on this scenario of the Texans winning by double digits. I think the under will hit. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, but I think the under hits, and I like the Texans to go out and win. Not the blood bank. The blood bank this week is the under in the Tennessee-Mizzou game. I already wrote it up on Outkick as my picks, but I like this game. I'm betting it tonight. I like the Texans on the money line, 3.5, a little bit tricky. So I like the Texans to win. You can take them to cover if you want, but I'm taking them on the money line on Lock It In here in a little bit. And I like the under in this game. All right? So I am all in on that tonight. Big Thursday night football game. I'm excited to watch. I'll be watching every snap, like a lot of you, to check it out. Yes, I've been betting a lot of low bets. This is going to be a $100 bet on Lock It In. I've been trying to save my cash, hoard. So that is where I am. All right, this story is ridiculous too. T.O., as if we didn't have enough ridiculous stories already. T.O. blasts Stephen A. over Colin Kaepernick criticism. This is according to TMZ. White co-host is blacker than you. All right, see, I mean, we have just created this universe where only white people can be racist. And as a result, we allow everybody else carte blanche to say all sorts of ridiculous things. And we don't call them on it because the mainstream media's perspective is only white people can be racist. All right? We in the media, and I'm a part of it, it's unfortunate, the media as a whole covers American race relations like it's still in the middle of the civil rights movement and it's 1960 in Birmingham. All right? It ain't like that anymore. This idea, I think, would be so healthy for the country if it could become the mainstream opinion. White people can be racist. Black people can be racist. Asian people can be racist. Hispanic people can be racist. Men can be racist. Women can be racist. I have a crazy idea which is considered wild and provocative. I think races have equal numbers of racist in them. In other words, I think there's roughly a percentage of white people who are racist that's equal to the percentages of black, Hispanic, and Asian people. I don't believe that racism only exists white to black in this country today. And that's the only racism that gets talked about as if it's still 1964 in Birmingham, okay? This is why the national conversation on race is so broken, because black people want to be perpetual victims and white people have to be professional victimizers. And so you have created a situation where you incentivize a group of people to be perpetually wounded and aggrieved and victims. And then you've also created another system where people have to be consistent victimizers. And so is it any wonder that the two sides never come together and have legitimate conversations? No, because you have created a situation now in the country where people can benefit off of racism. Look at what just happened with Myles Garrett. By making allegations, even if they aren't true, because it allows them to be victims, and there's a segment of the population that's going to believe it. And then you have another segment of the population that doesn't believe that racism exists at all. My perspective is racism exists, but it tends to be a broader problem than white to black. I was born in 1979. I went to integrated schools. I graduated from a school named after Martin Luther King Jr. Is there racism in my town of Nashville? Yes. Is it anything like the racism that would have existed in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s? No. And so my reality, I'm not going to allow it to be impacted by things that happened before my actual life. And so we end up getting dragged back into the past over and over and over again because of these situations. But I want you to recognize what T.O. said. T.O. said that Max Kellerman's opinion of Colin Kaepernick was blacker than Stephen A.'s opinion. And what that means is, I want you to listen, what that means is that black people are all supposed to have the same opinion. It doesn't allow Stephen A. Smith to have the agency to look at all of the facts in a situation and have an opinion that is different than another black person because that makes him a racial sellout. Well, it is racist to expect that everybody is going to have the exact same opinion on every issue. That is the very foundation of racism. If I see you and believe that I can know what your opinion is on an issue based entirely on the color of your skin, I am prejudging you based on your race, which is racism. So what T.O. is saying is fundamentally racist. Max Kellerman is white and he has a blacker opinion than Stephen A. That means that the black audience is supposed to have one opinion and the white audience is supposed to have another opinion. I got a crazy idea. How about people just use their brains regardless of what color skin they have and don't allow your opinion to be controlled by the color of your skin? That is the very foundation of democratic and egalitarian freedoms. That we should judge everyone, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, not by the color of the skin, but by the content of their character. And yet we get dragged back again and again because T.O. says something racist or because Earl Campbell says something racist, and people, by and large, allow it to happen because of the color of their skin. Now, I don't agree with Max Kellerman's opinions on a lot of issues, but I also don't believe that you should expect for his opinion to be one thing because he's white, or that you should expect Stephen A's opinion to be another because he's black. This is very reasonable, common sense that people of all different races, religions, ethnicities, and sexual orientations should be able to embrace. I don't want you to believe that you know every single thing I think because you look at me and see what color skin I am or what sex I am. That's insulting to me because it presumes that I don't actually use my brain and come up with legitimate opinions about things out there. So this is I think what T.O. said is racist. Props to Stephen A. for being willing to think on his own and not say just what he's supposed to say because he's black. And to his credit, props to Max Kellerman for not saying what he's supposed to say because he's white. Not that we really do that as much with white people. White people typically don't spend as much time saying, oh, you have to have this opinion because you're white, because the white opinion, at least in the political universe, is so much wider and more diverse in terms of how people vote and what people think. We typically don't contemplate the color of a white person's skin as making a values judgment on that. But what T.O. did 100% is that. He said, you're black, so you should have this opinion, which is, again, the foundation of racism. All right, Yahoo Sports. Been going at it a little bit with Yahoo Sports today. Yahoo Sports put up a story that I think is evidence of media bias and complete unfairness in the overall coverage of Colin Kaepernick. The headline on Yahoo Sports, a big website, has a lot of audience. Nike's value is up $26.2 billion since the Colin Kaepernick endorsement. Now it's close to unveiling his shoe. All right, that's the headline. Can you guys see this? I'm not sure if you can see it. There it is. There it is, Facebook. Nike's value is up $26.2 billion since Colin Kaepernick endorsement. Now it's close to unveiling his shoe. All right? Yahoo Sports writes that. This is a fundamentally false statement. All right? Imagine the reaction if Yahoo Sports' headline had been Nike's stock is up $26.2 billion thanks to Donald Trump's great tax cut and economic policies. People would lose their mind, right? People would lose their mind if Yahoo Sports attributed the rise in Nike's market cap, which has roughly mirrored the stock market's rise, to what has happened with Donald Trump's economic policies. Yet Colin Kaepernick, who has had almost no role for Nike at all as an endorser, who has not had a shoe, who has had one commercial to my knowledge and hasn't done anything in a year, somehow gets credit in this headline, which is being sent all over the internet, for a $26.2 billion market cap rise. This is an example of the media, sports media in particular, not calling balls and strikes fairly. And some people out there immediately look at me and they say, well, Clay, you said that Nike's market cap was down the day after they signed Colin Kaepernick. Yes, I did. Because it was. Because the Nike stock went down the day after they announced that Colin Kaepernick had been signed. There's a front page news story in the Wall Street Journal. On day-to-day basis, stocks react to things that are in the news. But over a year later, to attribute Nike stock in any way to Colin Kaepernick is foundationally inaccurate, and it's either intentionally dumb in an effort to attract dumb people, or it evidences such a lack of basic economics on the part of the headline writer and the writer's perspective that it's almost worse to be that dumb. Okay? Now, This also ties in with Colin Kaepernick's tryout. The reason why Colin Kaepernick wanted his own camera crew with him at his tryout, the reason why he showed up in a Kunta Kinte t-shirt, all makes sense now. Colin Kaepernick is aware that he has no value as a football player. The minute he signs in the NFL, he's not a martyr anymore. He's just one of 30 some odd dudes standing on the sideline with a clipboard, not playing. His value disappears. Okay? Colin Kaepernick needs to be a martyr. He needs to be a social justice warrior hero, or else he has absolutely no value. And I want you to think about this for a minute. Colin Kaepernick showed up to make a Nike commercial at his tryout. He doesn't want to get a job. And he wore a Kunta Kinte t-shirt, equating his situation with slavery. Do you know who the real slaves are in our modern global economy? The people who are going to be making Colin Kaepernick's shoe for 20 cents an hour, working 12 to 14-hour days over in Asia. Colin Kaepernick showed up in a Kunta Kinte shirt, and he has actually got a lot more in common with slave owners than you and me do, because he is directly profiting off of basic slave labor. All right, I want you to think about this for a minute. Colin Kaepernick, Kunta Kinte t-shirt, his shoes will be made by virtual slave laborers in Asia. So Colin Kaepernick is selling this woke SJW BS to all these idiots out there while he's effectively running a shoe plantation. Think about that for a minute. What is he doing? Profiting off of the work of people who are far beneath him on the social scale, so far beneath them on the social scale that they don't have to get a living wage anywhere near the country that he lives in. I'll be damned if Colin Kaepernick isn't as big of a hypocrite as there is in America today. He's making millions while the slaves back in Asia making his shoes and his products are making 20 cents an hour. I want you to think about that for a minute. I also want you to think about this for a minute. Why am I the only person in sports media who will point this out? There's a lot of people in sports media, right? Thousands of them. Why do none of them, who all are lapping up everything Colin Kaepernick and Nike are selling, why are none of them asking this basic question and recognizing this insane hypocrisy on the part of Colin Kaepernick? I got to tell you, sometimes people criticize me. Basically every minute of every day. They say things like, oh, Clay Travis, he's a dog whistler. That's what Yahoo said today. Clay Travis, oh, he's a dog whistler. I say this to y'all. I don't need to whistle for dogs. I say what I think every day for 3 hours on the radio and an hour on television and 30 minutes on this show and when I run my website. I don't need to hint at what I believe in. I walk right damn up to it every damn day, and I tell you, come hell or high water, exactly what I think. And I don't expect that all of you agree with every single thing that I say every single day, all day long. But you can accuse me of a lot. Saying exactly what I think, that ain't one of them. The reason why I started Outkick was to have complete creative control and freedom. And I still got it. And even better, thanks to living in the best country in the world, I've gotten filthy rich doing it, baby. Kisses. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. If you like the show, share it with your friends and family. I got to go do television now. I'll talk to you soon. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. See y'all.